Chapter 2755, About to take action Mr. and Ying, congratulations to you too. Jian Wushuang looked toward a middle-aged man who had sharp and eagle-like eyes beside them. That middle-aged man was An Ying, a previously famous primary-level Grand Ultimate God in the Danyang continent who had already made a breakthrough to the high-level Grand Ultimate God after taking the Huangji Golden Pill. As for the last person, she was a lady with silver hair known as Lan Junju. She had also obtained a Huangji Golden Pill but was not as lucky as the other two and did not become a high-level Grand Ultimate God. However, she had previously promised Jian Wushuang and would still fight for the Sword Alliance for 1,000 years even though she did not manage to make a breakthrough. In addition, Old Snake, the earliest person to obtain the Huangji Golden Pill and join the Sword Alliance, had also successfully made a breakthrough to high-level Grand Ultimate God after consuming the Huangji Golden Pill. It meant that out of the 5 Huangji Golden Pills apart from the strange old Tong who had not swallowed it, 3 out of the 4 primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods had successfully made a breakthrough. Jian Wushuang had added 4 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods and a primary-level Grand Ultimate God to the Sword Alliance in one go with those 3 people making a breakthrough. Apart from that, strange old Tong was considered top-tier among those 4 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods and no weaker than Saber Master. Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin was previously positioned in the top among primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods. He was capable of fighting against 2 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods when he was a primary-level Grand Ultimate God. His breakthrough had increased his strength by leaps and bounds, bringing his combat prowess almost similar to strange old Tong. An Ying and Old Snake were also quite strong and not considered weaklings among high-level Grand Ultimate Gods after making their breakthrough. It could be said that all 4 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods had extremely strong combat power. Together with Jian Wushuang and the corpse puppets he controlled, those pinnacle forces might not even be comparable to the Sword Alliance when considering the combat power of those at the highest realm. Now that our highest realm combat powers have been increased by so much, it's time for the Sword Alliance to take action after being quiet for a couple of decades. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly. Jian Wushuang immediately gathered the Sword Alliance's higher management members. Longshan, what's the scale of the Divine Sword Army right now? Jian Wushuang asked. Alliance Master, the Divine Sword Army has increased to 500 people and all of them are Heaven Ultimate Gods with great strength. Apart from that, their execution of the military formation and magic formation has been much more skillful after all these years. The current overall strength of the Divine Sword Army is still incomparable to the Crimson Stone official army of the Crimson Stone Fort. However, the Divine Sword Army is strong enough to fight legions cultivated by any forces and defeat them head-on apart from the Crimson Stone official army, said Longshan confidently. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. The Divine Sword Army was something he formed with great sacrifice. It could be said that more than 90% of the resources he obtained had been given to the Divine Sword Army. That was also the reason the Divine Sword Army could grow to such a capacity within the short period of several decades. Gather the Divine Sword Army. We're leaving soon, said Jian Wushuang directly. Leaving? Young Master plans to take action against the forces surrounding us? Xiao Taishan immediately looked over at Jian Wushuang. The group of Sword Alliance's higher management also looked at Jian Wushuang in excitement. The Sword Alliance's strength was growing every day at that moment as they were supported by a huge number of resources. Many of those in the higher management were unsatisfied with their current situation. All of them wanted to expand the Sword Alliance and even if they were unable to make huge expansions, they wished for small ones whereby they could take over the second-rated and third-rated forces around them. However, Jian Wushuang constrained the experts of the Sword Alliance strictly and prohibited them from expanding since the Sword Alliance became one of the first-rate forces several decades ago. Therefore, the Sword Alliance had been extremely powerful for several decades but without any territorial expansion. They had been longing to carry out an expansion since early on but could only forcefully hold their urges back due to the deterrence of the Alliance Master. The Alliance Master had finally decided to make a move against the surrounding forces at that moment. Bring the stellar map over, ordered Jian Wushuang. Somebody immediately brought a large stellar map and opened it in the hall. The stellar map recorded the entire Danyang continent including each force's territories. For example, The territories controlled by the Sword Alliance were also shown on the stellar map. Haha. It looks like there are quite a few forces in the area surrounding our Sword Alliance. Jian Wushuang looked at the distribution of forces on the stellar map. That's true. There are 4 second-rated forces and many third-rated forces around our territories. These forces have some conflicts with us across these years. However, our Sword Alliance did not make any large movements because of the constraint you've placed. Otherwise, these second-rated and third-rated forces would have been taken over by us long ago, said Xiao Taishan. Previously, we weren't strong enough. Expanding unscrupulously will raise fear between those first-rate or even pinnacle forces, especially those who don't want us to break the balance they tried so hard to maintain. Famous people attract criticism. Once our Sword Alliance continues to expand unscrupulously, those pinnacle forces may directly take action against us. The Sword Alliance can't withstand a pinnacle force's attack at that time. Jian Wushuang smiled softly. That's how it was previously, but it's different now. The corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth slightly bent upward. Previously, the Sword Alliance was unable to fight a pinnacle force by themselves, hence he dared not act recklessly and had been restricting the Sword Alliance's experts to build up their strength first. At that moment, their top management's strength and core Heaven Ultimate God's combat power including the Divine Sword Army had improved, making him no longer afraid of those pinnacle forces. There was nothing he was afraid of at that point. Master, there are so many forces around this area. Which one should we take action against first, or should we directly deploy the Divine Sword Army to sweep out all of these forces? Xiao Taishan asked. There are only some second-rated and third-rated forces around us. They aren't worth wasting our time. Our Sword Alliance has been quiet for a long time, hence let's make it a big one if we're going to make a move. We shall take action against that one. Jian Wushuang directly pointed at an area on the stellar map. There was a certain distance between that area and the territory controlled by the Sword Alliance with several forces in between. Xiao Taishan, Long Shan, Dong Shui, and the others had weird expressions on their faces upon seeing the target Jian Wushuang chose. Heavenly Blood Alliance. Master, you want to take action against the Heavenly Blood Alliance? Xiao Taishan looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. Why? Is it not possible? Jian Wushuang said with a snicker. The Heavenly Blood Alliance is the first-rate force of that area and considered extremely strong amongst first-rate forces. According to rumors, they have 3 Grand Ultimate Gods with one of them being a high-level Grand Ultimate God. The most important rumor mentioned that the Heavenly Blood Alliance has a close relationship with the Divine Demon Sect with news that the Divine Demon Sect is secretly supporting the Heavenly Blood Alliance. Won't taking action against the Heavenly Blood Alliance means we're acting against the Divine Demon Sect? Chapter 2756. Destroy the Heavenly Blood Alliance. Won't taking action against the Heavenly Blood Alliance means we're acting against the Divine Demon Sect? The entire hall fell into a brief silence after Xiao Taishan spoke. The Heavenly Blood Alliance alone was not too scary and with its current strength. The Sword Alliance was qualified to challenge the Heavenly Blood Alliance. However, the Divine Demon Sect was different. It was one of the 5 top-tier forces in the Danyang continent. There were around a dozen first-rate forces with uncountable second-rated and third-rated forces in the Danyang continent. However, there were only 5 pinnacle forces. Those 5 pinnacle forces were deeply rooted and extremely strong. Those pinnacle forces would only fight among themselves under normal circumstances. Which other forces would dare to provoke them? However, the Alliance Master wanted to take action against the Divine Demon Sect at that moment. Master, are you serious? Xiao Taishan looked toward Jian Wushuang. Of course, when I say we're taking action against the Heavenly Blood Alliance, we're taking action against it. There is nothing for our Sword Alliance to fear even if the Divine Demon Sect comes to cause us troubles later on. Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently before directly giving orders. Long Shan, immediately gather the Divine Sword Army and depart for the Heavenly Blood Alliance's territory. You might travel past the territories of several forces on the way. If they are only second-rated or third-rated forces with no Grand Ultimate Gods personally attending to them, wipe them out to clear the path. Dong Shui, Get ready to completely take over the Heavenly Blood Alliance's territory. Yes. Long Shan and Dong Shui nodded seriously. Master, what do you plan to do now? Xiao Taishan looked at Jian Wushuang. I'll rush toward Heavenly Blood Alliance with Old Snake and our guest elders before the Divine Sword Army arrives. Well, get rid of their 3 grand ultimate gods, said Jian Wushuang. All those who were present were surprised when they heard that. Alliance Master was going over at that moment to wipe out the Heavenly Blood Alliance's grand ultimate gods. There were 3 grand ultimate gods and one of them was even a high-level grand ultimate god. In addition, they only heard of an elder's palace in the Sword Alliance, but there was only one elder at that moment who was Old Snake. Since when did the Sword Alliance have guest elders? Jian Wushuang did not explain to them and directly made a move after giving his orders. Those traveling with him included Strange Old Tong, Zhu Xin, Old Snake, and Ying, and Lan Junju. The 6 of them traveled quickly and rushed toward the Heavenly Blood Alliance's territory. The 6 of them had already arrived in the skies above the Heavenly Blood Alliance's lair in less than a day. Heavenly Blood City. The Heavenly Blood Alliance's lair. Alliance Master Su Han, do you plan to take action against the Heavenly Blood Alliance? Zhu Xin looked toward Jian Wushuang. Yes. Jian Wushuang immediately nodded. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin frowned. Are you joking? Alliance Master Su Han, don't you know that the Heavenly Blood Alliance is being secretly supported by the Divine Demon Sect? There's even a spatial passage in the Heavenly Blood Alliance that connects to the Divine Blood Sect's lair according to rumors, such that the Divine Blood Sect can immediately send experts over via the spatial passage once something happens to the Heavenly Blood Alliance. Even if that's true, so what? Is Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin afraid? Jian Wushuang glanced at Zhu Xin with a smile. I'm not afraid. It's not difficult for us to wipe out a Heavenly Blood Alliance based on our strength, but I feel the more important matter is that we need to face the Divine Demon Sect thereafter. Is Alliance Master Su Han well prepared for that? Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin asked. Jian Wushuang smiled softly. Don't worry. I'm naturally prepared to face the Divine Demon Sect since I dare to take action against the Heavenly Blood Alliance. All of you have nothing to worry about. In addition, the Divine Demon Sect isn't as scary as you guys imagined. That's right, it's just a Divine Demon Sect. It's not like I've never gone against them previously. On the other hand, Strange Old Tong was completely fearless with excitement filling his eyes instead. He had a huge grudge against the Divine Demon Sect from the beginning and was extremely excited when he heard they were taking action against the Divine Demon Sect. Alliance Master Su Han, we'll fight wholeheartedly for the Sword Alliance since we've accepted your invitation. However, we'd need to warn you first that if we're really placed in a terrible position, we won't die for your Sword Alliance, said Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin. Jian Wushuang said with a smile, I understand. All of you don't need to worry as you're just employees of my Sword Alliance. I won't stop you from leaving if we're at the brink of life and death. However, we should take action and get rid of the Heavenly Blood Alliance first. It's not difficult to wipe out the Heavenly Blood Alliance as long as we have taken precautions against the Divine Demon Sect's experts rushing over. Old Tong, can you sneak into the Heavenly Blood City and find where the spatial passage is? Please destroy the spatial passage the moment we take action. Sure. Strange Old Tong nodded as his figure had already skimmed toward the Heavenly Blood City's entrance. Let's wait here for a moment, said Jian Wushuang. Zhu Xin, Old Snake, and Ying, and Lan Junju stood behind Jian Wushuang as they waited in silence. Less than half an hour later, Strange Old Tong sent a message saying he had already found the spatial passage's location and was hiding nearby, prepared to take action at any moment. Jian Wushuang smiled when he received the message. Let's go, it's time for us to take action. Jian Wushuang waved his hands as the group of 5 directly went toward the huge hall floating amid the void located at the heart of the city. There was a thin layer of crimson light surrounding the hall, which was a magic formation. It appeared to be quite unusual when they looked at it with their eyes, hence it could be concluded to certainly be quite strong. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin, I heard rumors about how you're able to fight 2 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods while as just a Primary-level Grand Ultimate God. Your strength must have increased by leaps and bounds now that you've made a breakthrough. You're the strongest among the 6 of us apart from strange old Tong. We shall rely on you to resolve this magic formation, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. Sure. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin glanced at the crimson magic formation before nodding and took his battle saber out of its sheath. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin instantly moved and appeared in front of the crimson magic formation as he held the battle saber in his hands high. A special essence started to slowly spread. Heaven and earth seemed to turn indistinct and lonely in an instant. The void also became obscure as Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin's figure could be faintly seen in the hazy area. Whoosh! A saberlight was directly sent forward. The saberlight was extremely fascinating and dazzling yet also extremely elusive at the same time. The saberlight skimmed past the void before a huge saber river appeared out of nowhere in the blink of an eye. It was as though an elusive region was being drawn. The void was then swallowed by a wave of silence. The saberlight wave had already cut onto the crimson magic formation. Boom! A loud explosive sound could be heard before the crimson magic formation immediately brightened and revealed its powerful strength. Endless crimson lights appeared and crazily endured the incomparable yet elusive slash. The entire magic formation trembled crazily, which already startled those many Heavenly Blood Alliance's experts within the magic formation. Chapter 2757, Nobody will rescue you. Who is it? How dare you attack the Heavenly Blood Alliance's main lair? An angry howl filled the entire sky before a huge amount of people came skimming out from the Heavenly Blood Alliance's main lair. The 3 people leading the way were Heavenly Blood Alliance's 3 Grand Ultimate Gods. The person who yelled aloud was the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master, who was a high-level Grand Ultimate God. The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master looked with unprecedented anger at the person who activated the elusive saberlight. That's Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin? The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master's facial expression darkened. He knew who Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin was, but the Heavenly Blood Alliance had never offended that Grand Ultimate God. However, Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin was attacking the Heavenly Blood Alliance's main territory at that moment. The crimson magic formation trembled violently but soon calmed down. However, the elusive saberlight had already dispersed. It didn't break. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin's facial expression slightly changed, but he took action once again. Clank! It was still an extremely elusive and scary saberlight that was much larger and stronger than the previous. The saberlight once again hit on the crimson magic formation, with the only difference being the crimson magic formation looked as though it was going to break. This is bad. The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master's facial expression darkened as he noticed the crimson magic formation had reached its limit. Finally, the entire crimson magic formation could not endure the saberlight's horrendous strength and immediately fell apart. Once the magic formation had fallen, the entire Heavenly Blood Alliance's lair was exposed in the open. Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin, good work. A hearty laugh sounded as Jian Wushuang and the others skimmed over from the void they were located before landing beside Grand Ultimate God Zhu Xin. These people, Heavenly Blood Alliance Master, only noticed Jian Wushuang and the others at that moment. Old Snake, An Ying, Lan Junzhu, and the person standing in the middle is Su Han of the Sword Alliance. The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master narrowed his eyes. He recognized all those people standing in front of him and realized that Jian Wushuang was the person leading them. Alliance Master Su Han, there seemed to be no grudges between Heavenly Blood Alliance and Sword Alliance. What is the meaning of you bringing people here and destroying the Heavenly Blood Alliance's important formation? The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master looked at Jian Wushuang with cold eyes. There's nothing special. I'm just taking a leisure walk at your Heavenly Blood Alliance and wiping it out while I'm doing that, said Jian Wushuang with a soft smile. Wipe out our Heavenly Blood Alliance. The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master's facial expression darkened. The Heavenly Blood Alliance's many experts also had angry expressions on their faces. However, right at that moment, boom! An explosion sound accompanied by a wave of strong divine power could be felt exploding directly from below them before sounds of angry yells from some experts could be heard. The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master immediately looked toward the source of the sound, only narrowed his eyes by what he witnessed. The spatial passage had been destroyed. The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master's facial expression darkened greatly. At the same time, an overpowering aura wave also came skimming forward. It was a dirty and sloppy old man. The divine power coming off the sloppy old man had already reached the peak of a high-level Grand Ultimate God. Strange old Tong, it's you. The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master and those many experts from the Heavenly Blood Alliance gritted their teeth as they said that. The Heavenly Blood Alliance was secretly supported by the Divine Demon Sect, with many of their experts originating from the Divine Demon Sect. The hatred between Strange Old Tong and the Divine Demon Sect was written very deeply in their blood. Heavenly Blood Alliance Master, it's been a long time. I wish you well. Strange Old Tong smiled coldly as he stared at the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master. We're in huge trouble. The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master had a darkened expression on his face. Although the Heavenly Blood Alliance was one of the first-rate forces, they only had 3 Grand Ultimate Gods, with him being the only high-level Grand Ultimate God. However, the company that Jian Wushuang brought over apart from himself were a total of 4 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods and 1 Primary-level Grand Ultimate God, which all of them were extremely strong. It was absolutely easy for such a lineup to wipe out their members purely with higher combat power. Apart from that, the spatial passage had been destroyed by the Strange Old Tong. Even if he immediately sent a message to the Divine Demon Sect, they would not be able to immediately send help. The Heavenly Blood Alliance's situation was really worrisome. Alliance Master Su Han, it looks like your Sword Alliance has really made up your mind to take action against my Heavenly Blood Alliance. The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master stared at Jian Wushuang with a cold look in his eyes. Of course, why would I gather such a big group of people if that isn't the case, said Jian Wushuang while smiling. Alliance Master Su Han, I'm sure you're kept in the dark on the true origins of Heavenly Blood Alliance. Heavenly Blood Alliance is supported by the Divine Demon Sect. If you dare take action against us, the Divine Demon Sect will do their best to wipe out the Sword Alliance, yelled the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master with a deep voice. Ha ha! Are you trying to scare me with the Divine Demon Sect? Jian Wushuang could not help but scoff. I certainly knew about the background of your Heavenly Blood Alliance before deciding to take action against you, so what about the Divine Demon Sect? I'm taking action against the Divine Demon Sect. Heavenly Blood Alliance Master, listen carefully. The Heavenly Blood Alliance will be wiped out today and nobody will be able to save you. I mean by what I've said. Jian Wushuang's cold voice could be heard throughout the entire Heavenly Blood City. The Heavenly Blood Alliance experts' facial expressions darkened when they heard that. Everyone, take action. Don't let all 3 Grand Ultimate Gods of the Heavenly Blood Alliance go and kill all of those high-level experts. As for the others, kill those who fought back, ordered Jian Wushuang. Zhu Xin, Old Snake, and Ying, Lan Junzhu, and Old Tong who were behind him looked at each other before taking action. Boom, 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 boom. 5 extremely strong auras immediately exploded as war instantly broke out. There's hope as long as we are still alive. Let's escape. The Heavenly Blood Alliance Master immediately made his decision and exchanged looks with both Primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods behind him before turning around to escape. They knew there was a huge power difference between both parties. The 3 of them did not have any room to retaliate if they engaged, so they could only escape. As experts in the Grand Ultimate God level, they were really good at protecting their lives such that even a Grand Ultimate God more powerful than them would fail to make them stay if they really wanted to escape. If they escaped at that moment and the Divine Demon Sect immediately took action after all that, they could easily have their revenge. Jian Wushuang and the others standing in front of them, including the Sword Alliance, would be completely wiped away after that. However, Jian Wushuang had been thinking about preventing them from escaping since early on. Therefore, the moment those 3 were prepared to make a move, hum. Great amount of golden light streams immediately extended. The golden light stream's expansion speed was so much faster compared to those 3 Grand Ultimate Gods' escaping speed that those streams covered a great area of the void in the blink of an eye, which also engulfed those 3 Grand Ultimate Gods. A golden light domain immediately expanded and suppressed them. At the same time, The 10,000-foot-tall golden god shadow had already risen behind Jian Wushuang as he pointed his finger and formed the prison of punishment. Chapter 2758. The Fury Divine Demon Sect. A humongous golden prison also appeared out of thin air and sealed up the entire void. Both the Golden Light Domain and Prison of Punishment had superimpose. Rumble. The three Heavenly Blood Alliance experts who frenziedly escaped immediately felt a strong suppression. Around 20% to 30% of their power had been directly suppressed, with the most crucial point being a huge decrease in their speed. This domain, D***MNIT, were in huge trouble. Those three's facial expressions were extremely dark as they immediately tried every means to escape from the domain. However, they were stuck in the extremely strong golden prison and it was almost impossible for them to break the golden prison. Therefore, those three did not even have any opportunities to escape before all five of them, Old Tong, Ju Xin, Old Snake, and Ying, and Lan Junju, attacked them. "Leave the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master to me," said Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin coldly as he directly went after the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master. The remaining four glanced at each other speechlessly. Moments later, both Primera-level Grand Ultimate Gods were killed by those four people. As for the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master, he had a heated fight with Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin, which resulted in him being completely crushed by Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin from the beginning of the fight. He was originally not as strong as Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin and could not even use 80% of his power as he had been suppressed by the domains, hence he naturally did not have any strength to fight back, and soon enough, Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin found his opportunity to directly kill him. Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin, how does it feel to personally kill a high-level Grand Ultimate God? Jian Wushuang looked toward Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin with interest. The Heavenly Blood Alliance is really weak as they were suppressed by the domains. They don't even qualify for me to take action. What feelings should I have for killing him? Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin had a cold expression on his face. Jian Wushuang could not help but smile when he heard that. He could see that Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin had just become a high-level Grand Ultimate God, and that was the reason he rushed to fight against the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master, as he wanted to test his strength by going against an opponent. However, the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master was too weak and failed to achieve his requirements. Alliance Master Su Han, all three Grand Ultimate Gods, and the Heavenly Blood Alliance's upper echelons had been wiped out. The remaining Heaven Ultimate Gods had started escaping. "I don't think you need me to chase after them, right?" Old Tong looked over. The Grand Ultimate Gods present had lofty positions. It was nothing for them to kill those Grand Ultimate Gods, including those part of the Heavenly Blood Alliance's core. However, they normally would not lower themselves to chasing after ordinary Heaven Ultimate Gods. No need for that. Leave the remaining issues to the Divine Sword Army. Jian Wushuang smiled. What we need to do now is prepare to withstand the Divine Demon Sect's wrath. Old Tong, Ju Xin, and the others had serious expressions on their faces when they heard that. Although wiping out the Heavenly Blood Alliance was nothing, was different when it came to the Divine Demon Sect. It's public knowledge that the Heavenly Blood Alliance was secretly supported by the Divine Demon Sect and considered as the Divine Demon Sect's assistant. Now that the Heavenly Blood Alliance had been wiped out and we've killed all three Grand Ultimate Gods, this meant we've wiped out the Divine Demon Sect's support. The Divine Demon Sect will be furious and take revenge against us in a crazed manner, said Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin. Alliance Master Su Han, are you really sure you can contend against the Divine Demon Sect? And Ying could not help but look over. Sure. How could I dare take action against the Heavenly Blood Alliance if I didn't have absolute confidence? Won't that be suicidal? Jian Wushuang smiled and looked at the people around him. Don't worry, all of you can leave at any time if we can't fight against the Divine Demon Sect by then. After Jian Wushuang said those words, only then did those Grand Ultimate Gods nodded in relief. If there aren't any accidents, the Divine Demon Sect will immediately take action. They might even come at us with all they have and we'll be waiting for them here. Jian Wushuang smiled with absolute confidence on his face. At that very moment in the Divine Demon Sect, just as Jian Wushuang anticipated, The Divine Demon sect was in a wave of rage when they caught the news that the Sword Alliance had taken action against the Heavenly Blood Alliance and killed all 3 Grand Ultimate Gods, including the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master. Sword Alliance. What an alliance! A middle-aged man in purplish golden armor had a cold expression on his face as he slapped his hand down and turned the throne into powder with his strong divine power. The middle-aged man stood up with a flame of anger burning crazily in his eyes. The middle-aged man in purplish gold armor was none other than the sect master of the Divine Demon sect, Dongshan. As the Divine Demon sect master, Dongshan was also a powerful peak Grand Ultimate God. In front of Dongshan, several figures with a strong aura were standing there. They were the Divine Demon sect's pinnacle experts, but their expressions were extremely cold at that moment. The Sword Alliance dared take action when they knew we supported the Heavenly Blood Alliance. They are so daring that they wiped out the entire alliance. The Heavenly Blood Alliance was built from us spending lots of resources on them. All 3 Grand Ultimate Gods, including the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master, originated from our Divine Demon sect, who had always been the Divine Demon sect's main strength. It's a huge loss to us now that they are dead and the Heavenly Blood Alliance has been destroyed. If we don't do anything after suffering such losses, our Divine Demon sect will become a joke in the eyes of every force in the Danyang continent. That's right. We should directly take action and destroy the entire Sword Alliance. We shall shred Su Han into pieces. We shall not let go of those who were involved, Ju Xin, Strange Old Tong, and Ying, Lan Junju, and Old Snake. Kill. 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 Every pinnacle expert of the Divine Demon sect was filled with killing intent. The majority of the Divine Demon sect's experts in the Divine Demon sect were personally brought up individually and had an extremely strong sense of belonging toward the Divine Demon sect. Those experts in the Divine Demon sect had deep feelings of camaraderie among one another, with some were even fellow disciples of the same teacher. All 3 Grand Ultimate Gods, including the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master that Jian Wushuang and the others killed, had many close friends in the Divine Demon sect. The Divine Demon sect master had an overpowering killing intent surging through his body at that moment. Where are Su Han and the others? Dongshan asked. Based on the news we received, they stayed in the Heavenly Blood City and did not leave. It looks like they are waiting for those from the Sword Alliance to come and take over the Heavenly Blood City, answered a Grand Ultimate God standing beneath him. Chapter 2759, War. Knowing that the Divine Demon sect will retaliate after he destroys the Heavenly Blood Alliance, how dare he remain in the Heavenly Blood City? Su Han is obviously waiting for us. Well, I'm dying to find out the potential of this young Sword Alliance that has only been around for decades. Let's go to the Heavenly Blood Alliance. Dongshan gave an order for all the Divine Demon sect experts to immediately set off. The Divine Sword Army had arrived in the Heavenly Blood City to solidify their power by expelling any remaining influence of the Heavenly Blood Alliance in the city. Jian Wushuang and the others were standing in the void above the Heavenly Blood City, waiting patiently. The people from the Divine Demon sect should arrive at any time now. Jian Wushuang smiled. He was looking forward to it excitedly. It only took a few decades for Sword Alliance to grow from a third-rated force since its creation and expand to what it was at that instance. Sword Alliance was finally about to face off the top forces in Danyang continent. I hope the experts from Divine Demon sect that are coming will not let me down, Jian Wushuang muttered. Strange Old Tong, Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin and the others stood beside Jian Wushuang with solemn expressions. They were somehow fearful of the Divine Demon sect. Suddenly, a few more black spots appeared out of thin air in the distant void. Those black spots were magnifying at a speed visible to the naked eye. In no time, those black spots appeared completely in front of Jian Wushuang and the others. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. 9 figures came into the picture. Each of those 9 figures was diffusing an extremely tyrannical breath of aura. The weakest among them were the 5 Primera-level Grand Ultimate Gods. There were 3 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. The last person was the middle-aged peak Grand Ultimate God, Dongshan. He had a handsome and impassive face and he was wearing a purply gold armor. 9 Grand Ultimate Gods. The faces of Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin and Strange Old Tong sank at the sight of those 9 figures. As one of the top forces in Danyang continent, Divine Demon Sect did not seem to have many Grand Ultimate Gods. There were no more than 10 Grand Ultimate Gods. However, that was the information known by the public. Any of those forces with deep roots and influence had private swarms hidden in the dark, away from the eyes and knowledge of the public. Divine Demon Sect was no exception. Therefore, Divine Demon Sect certainly had more than 10 peak Grand Ultimate Gods under their wings. That explained the strong lineup of 9 Grand Ultimate Gods in Divine Demon Sect even after Jian Wushuang and his men killed the 3 Grand Ultimate Gods in Heavenly Blood Alliance. So, they have 9 Grand Ultimate Gods. The 5 primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods and 3 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods are relatively easy to deal with, but the Divine Demon Sect Master is a peak Grand Ultimate God after all. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed slightly. Dong Shin, long time no see. A cold voice sounded. It was Strange Old Tong. Strange Old Tong had grievances with Divine Demon Sect and therefore, Dong Shin was no stranger to Strange Old Tong. Dong Shin had personally gone on a chase to kill Strange Old Tong before, but he did not succeed. Strange Old Tong, I'll sort out the grievances between us later. Dong Shin glanced at Strange Old Tong before landing his cold gaze on Jian Wushuang. Are you Su Han from the Sword Alliance? Yes, it's me. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. A mere primary-level Grand Ultimate God who created a powerful Sword Alliance within such a short time. I must admit that you've done very well, said Dong Shin coldly. Thanks for the compliment. These are just some small tactics that are not worth mentioning at all, Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. You are modest. Dong Shin stared at Jian Wushuang. However, no matter what tactics you have up your sleeves, you should never do anything to Heavenly Blood Alliance and never ever aim at my Divine Demon Sect. All of you here today won't be able to walk out of here alive. Get started. Spare no one. Dong Shin waved his hand. Behind him, the 3 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods and 5 primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods made a move instantly. When those 8 Grand Ultimate Gods struck at the same time, a gush of horrific aura enveloped the area in an instant. Alliance Master Su Han, we will do our best to resist these 8 people, but if Dong Shin comes in later, you will have to figure out your own way to parry him off, said Strange Old Tong before the 5 Grand Ultimate Gods from Sword Alliance made a move. Although there were only 5 Grand Ultimate Gods from Sword Alliance, Strange Old Tong, Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin, Strange Old Snake, Mr. and Ying and Lan Junju, they had 4 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. Besides Strange Old Tong and Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin who were both exceptionally formidable high-level Grand Ultimate Gods, Strange Old Snake, Mr. and Ying, and Lan Junju were also extremely powerful. Those 5 Grand Ultimate Gods struck at the same time, fighting against 8 opponents fearlessly. Boom, 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 boom. A series of loud and crisp noises broke out when the experts from the 2 camps fought. The entire void was instantly filled with violent divine power. Neither Jian Wushuang nor Dong Shin made a shot, they were just looking calmly at the battlefield from the peripheral. Strange Old Tong was the most dazzling fighter with his wonderful combat power. He had alone confronted an equally outstanding high-level Grand Ultimate God from Divine Demon Sect, completely suppressing and overpowering his opponent. Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin, who was previously recognized as the top primary-level Grand Ultimate God, had broken through in his combat power and he was no inferior to Strange Old Tong. He had simultaneously contended with 2 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods from Divine Demon Sect. He was against 2 people, yet he managed to maintain a stalemate with his opponents. In other words, 3 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods from Divine Demon Sect were feuding with Strange Old Tong and Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin, where the Sword Alliance party enjoyed the advantage. Strange Old Snake and Mr. and Ying, the 2 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods, and Lan Junju, the powerful primary-level Grand Ultimate God, kept the other 5 primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods from Divine Demon Sect under control. Dong Shin frowned slightly. He did not expect that the combat power from the Sword Alliance Grand Ultimate Gods would be so impressive. Weren't Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin, Strange Old Snake, and Mr. and Ying primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods? When did they break through and reach the high-level Grand Ultimate God realm? Dong Shin was astonished. Though he was astonished, he was not too worried after all. When Divine Demon Sect was obviously at an absolute disadvantage on the battlefield. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures suddenly emerged from the surrounding void. There were 1 high-level Grand Ultimate God and 2 primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods. They were extremely powerful, especially the high-level Grand Ultimate God. He had fiery red hair and wore a fiery red robe. He looked like a ball of raging flame. His breath of aura was extremely tyrannical and his strength was almost comparable with strange old Tong. Chapter 2760, Outstanding Combat Power Hes Fiery Cloud Demon Master. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes as his eyes were locked on the fiery red-haired old man who looked like a fireball. Jian Wushuang knew Fiery Cloud Demon Master because he was among the list of experts Jian Wushuang wished to send a recruitment invitation with the Huangji Golden Pill. There were 3 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods in the list of experts given by Strange Old Snake, one of whom was Strange Old Tong. Of the 2 remaining, one had disappeared for many years without a trace, whereas the other one was Fiery Cloud Demon Master, who had also suddenly disappeared many years ago. No one knew his whereabouts, but from what Jian Wushuang could see at that instance, Fiery Cloud Demon Master had obviously joined Divine Demon Sect. Fiery Cloud Demon Master is also an exceptionally powerful high-level Grand Ultimate God. Even if he fights one-on-one with Strange Old Tong, it doesn't seem possible for Strange Old Tong Laro to defeat him in a short time. With him coming into the battlefield alongside 2 primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods, we're probably not in an optimistic situation, Jian Wushuang murmured. Indeed, the tide on the battlefield had completely been reversed after Fiery Cloud Demon Master and his 2 members joined the battlefield. Sword Alliance used to be suppressing the 8 Divine Demon Sect Grand Ultimate Gods, but when Divine Demon Sect presented 11 Grand Ultimate Gods at once with Fiery Cloud Demon Master among them, Sword Alliance fell from the advantage position and faced severe disadvantage. Alliance Master Su Han, show what you've got quickly, otherwise we will lose any time. Lan Junju shouted sternly. Among the Sword Alliance Grand Ultimate Gods, Lan Junju was the only primary-level Grand Ultimate God. Hence, she was facing greater pressure. Lan Junju naturally felt helpless as she was facing 3 primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods alone. Jian Wushuang acknowledged the situation with a nod and immediately waved his hand. 3 figures appeared instantly in the void. Those 3 figures were lifeless. 2 of the figures were in copper-colored tone and the last one had a silver-colored surface. They were the silver-armored corpse puppet and 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets that Jian Wushuang had in control. When those 3 corpse puppets appeared, they attracted a lot of attention from the surroundings. Soon, someone recognized the 3 corpse puppets. They are corpse puppets. Judging from their aura, they are very powerful corpse puppets. Alliance Master Su Han has control over these powerful corpse puppets. No wonder he dares to challenge Divine Demon Sect. As expected, Alliance Master Su Han has a certain amount of support. Those Sword Alliance Grand Ultimate Gods felt a sense of relief. Go on. Jian Wushuang pointed at a distance. Then, the silver-armored corpse puppet and the 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets immediately discharged powerful aura and dashed into the battlefield. The silver-armored corpse puppet had combat power equivalent to a top-notch high-level Grand Ultimate God, whereas the bronze-armored corpse puppets ranked the same as an ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate God. The situation on the battlefield was flipped around once again after 3 high-level Grand Ultimate Gods joined the battle. Is this your support? The Divine Demon Sect Master, Dong Shun, looked across the battlefield at Jian Wushuang. 1 silver-armored corpse puppet, 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets, Strange Old Tong, Grand Ultimate God Jushin who had just broken through to reach the level of a high-level Grand Ultimate God, Strange Old Snake, Mr. and Ying and finally, Lan Junju. Your Sword Alliance is indeed no less than any top forces in terms of combat power. No wonder you dare to go against us, the Divine Demon Sect. Su Han, I regret that I had not wiped the Sword Alliance out when it had just emerged as a first-rate force and before it was firmly entrenched in power. Sword Alliance was vulnerable then. Dongshan's eyes were cold. You're right. If Divine Demon Sect or any of the top forces had attacked Sword Alliance then, we would not be able to resist at all. Unfortunately, you were all too aloof and tried to maintain the status quo of Danyang continent. None of you were interested in going into a war, and that gave me enough time to build the Sword Alliance. That being said, Divine Demon Sect has missed the best opportunity to destroy Sword Alliance, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. I missed the best opportunity indeed, so this time around, I must completely destroy your Sword Alliance by all means, so that the equilibrium in Danyang continent can be restored. Dongshen's voice was cold. Su-Han, I admit that your Sword Alliance has risen very fast, and you have gathered such a powerful lineup of grand ultimate gods in such a short period of time. You certainly have wonderful methods, but it is a pity that you have underestimated us, the Divine Demon Sect. The reason why Divine Demon Sect has become one of the top forces in Danyang continent and it remained strong for so many years was not only because of our profound background and the many powerful grand ultimate gods we have. The most important thing was that the Divine Demon Sect has the strongest combat power in Danyang Holy Domain. Dongshen's eyes were gleaming when he said that. Dongshen, are you referring to yourself as the strongest combat power? Jian Wushuang smiled indifferently. Dongshen nodded slightly, admitting that he was the one. There was no other undying saint from the Danyang Holy Domain since the passing of Crimson Stone Saint. That made the peak grand ultimate god possessing the strongest combat power in Danyang Holy Domain. In addition, there were only a handful of peak grand ultimate gods in Danyang Holy Domain. Among them, Nanwu Palace, Divine Demon Sect, Life and Death Tower and Donggang Clan, the four top forces had one each. Dongshen was the one from Divine Demon Sect. Under the leadership of a peak grand ultimate god, Divine Demon Sect was qualified to be called one of the top forces. That explained why Dongshen was not too bothered even though the Divine Demon Sect Grand Ultimate Gods were at an absolute disadvantage in the confrontation with Sword Alliance Grand Ultimate Gods. He had the strongest combat power and he had yet to participate in the battle. However, he would very soon join the battle. Su-Han, you haven't fought against a peak Grand Ultimate God, so you'd never know how terrible a peak Grand Ultimate God is. Do you think it's enough to be able to compete against and overpowered the Divine Demon Sect Primary Level and High-Level Grand Ultimate Gods? That, I tell you, is ridiculous. Dongshen sneered. While he was speaking, the astounding breath of divine power that far surpassed everyone else in his body was woken up like an aroused dragon. On the battlefield, the Grand Ultimate Gods from the two camps shivered when they sensed the breath of divine power. The Divine Demon Sect Grand Ultimate Gods were overjoyed. They knew that their sect master, Dongshen, would take the shot himself. A peak Grand Ultimate God who also had the highest combat power in the Danyang Holy Domain was about to take the shot personally. The faces of the Sword Alliance Grand Ultimate Gods were a bit ugly. They had no chance against Dongshen and they could only rely on whether Jian Wushuang had prepared for the counterattack. What worried them was that if Jian Wushuang had enough to resist Dongshen. Chapter 2761, Counting on You Su-Han, Go to Hell. Dongshen's eyes glow with murderous intent. Boom. Dongshen's killing intent exploded alongside his terrifying aura as he charged forward at Jian Wushuang. His power violently shook the void that he went past. He passed through the center of the battlefield to the other side. The two parties that were fighting fiercely retreated to the side in horror. Even the strongest fighter of all, Strange Old Tong, was extremely terrified of Dongshen. Strange Old Tong saw Dongshen skim past and he dared not to stop it. Dongshen was not hindered in any way, so he appeared in front of Jian Wushuang in just a blink of an eye. Dongshen knew very well that Jian Wushuang was the Sword Alliance leader and the mastermind of the event. Strange Old Tong, Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin and the others were only taking orders from him. Even the corpse puppets were under Jian Wushuang's control. Dongshen believed that as long as he defeated and killed Jian Wushuang, the nasty situation could be resolved easily. However, when Dongshen waved the giant axe in his hand to halve Jian Wushuang responded with a wave. Buzz. A dazzling stream of golden light lit up. A tall and burly figure emerged instantly. The tall and burly figure was holding a battle saber. He emanated a shocking wave of aura as his sword thrust forward for a brutal slash. The battle saber collided with Dongshen's giant axe. Boom! The tall and burly figure was thrashed far away, and Dongshan too was slightly shaken up by the momentum. He regained his footing after staggered 3 steps back. Dongshan raised his head to check out who the opponent was after he stabilized himself. Is that a gold-armored corpse puppet? Dongshan's eyes shrank sharply in astonishment. The experts from the 2 camps that were engaged in a brawl around the battlefield were in a state of frenzy. That's a gold-armored corpse puppet. It turned out to be a gold-armored corpse puppet. Oh gosh, not only is he controlling a silver-armored corpse puppet and 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets, but he is also controlling a gold-armored corpse puppet. A gold-armored corpse puppet is equivalent to the combat power of a peak grand ultimate god. The experts from both camps were amazed. Peak grand ultimate gods were scarce in Danyang continent. Each of the top forces had only one, whereby Crimson Stone Fort had Yin Sua and Yun Shan. Who would have thought Jian Wushuang, a Primera-level Grand Ultimate God, would have a gold-armored corpse puppet at his beck and call? The experts finally knew why Jian Wushuang had so much confidence and that he dared to make an onslaught upon Divine Demon Sect. You have a gold-armored corpse puppet? Dongshan stared wide-eyed at Jian Wushuang. Dongshan, do you think him a fool? If I don't have any confidence in battling against you, I would never launch an attack on Divine Demon Sect. I got the gold-armored corpse puppet by chance a while ago. He happens to have reached the combat power of a peak grand ultimate god, so I shall let him be your opponent. Jian Wushuang sneered and immediately commanded the gold-armored corpse puppet next to him, kill him. The gold-armored corpse puppet did not hesitate. He instantly turned into a golden stream of light and attacked Dongshan. The gold-armored corpse puppet perfectly displayed the combat power of a peak grand ultimate god. Dongshan's expression was cold, his body rose and his breath of aura soared to a whole new level. Initially, he only had a giant axe in one of his hands, but then, a giant axe appeared in his other hand. Each of his hands holding a giant axe, his combat power climbed to its limit. Attack! Dongshan bellowed and strode out for a strike. An overwhelming gush of divine aura dispersed in the void and fought fiercely with the gold-armored corpse puppet. The fierce battle only took a moment and the 2 sides only collided several times. Swoosh! The gold-armored corpse puppet was smashed miserably. Then again, the gold-armored corpse puppet had a tough corpse puppet figure. Though its divine body was smashed, it did not suffer much damage. The message was clear though that the gold-armored corpse puppet was no match for Dongshan. Haha, you think a gold-armored corpse puppet can compete with me head-on? What a joke! Dongshan laughed arrogantly, his breath of aura was horrifying. He was violent like a peerless brutish beast. The gold-armored corpse puppet had no wisdom and after pulling himself up to his feet, he launched another attack on Dongshan. It did not take long before he was smashed again. The gold-armored corpse puppet was just a corpse puppet indeed. Although he has the combat power of a peak grand ultimate god and he knows how to use some of the techniques he practiced during his lifetime, his true combat power is only average among the peak grand ultimate gods. Whereas, Dongshan, he has been a peak grand ultimate god for years. His divine power, techniques, and even his treasures and divine weapons are above the gold-armored corpse puppet. I'm not surprised that the gold-armored corpse puppet is not his match. Jian Wushuang squinted slightly while his gaze traveled around the battlefield. Dongshan was temporarily occupied by the gold-armored corpse puppet and he could not extend help to his people. The Sword Alliance had an absolute advantage over the fight between the rest of the Grand Ultimate Gods, but it did not seem to be a huge advantage. The Sword Alliance's Grand Ultimate Gods faced difficulties to nab a chance to kill several of the Divine Demon Sect Grand Ultimate Gods. The situation would be nasty for Sword Alliance when Dongshan defeated the gold-armored corpse puppet and joined the rest of the battle. The situation could in fact be very awful for Sword Alliance. It seems that I have to help them out. Jian Wushuang murmured as he roused the 7 Stars secret technique. As soon as the 7 Stars secret technique was performed, his realm moved up by another level and his divine power soared. Buzz, an immense amount of golden divine power began to condense behind him, and in the blink of an eye, a golden emperor who was 10,000 feet tall had appeared behind him. The golden emperor was extremely domineering, he stood tall and overlooked everything in the world down below. He was terrorizing. At the same time, on the surface of his body, a layer of dark golden armor slowly emerged. 7 stars secret technique, divine god of punishment and 9 sparkle star armor had been performed at the same time. Jian Wushuang's combat power had risen to its limit. However, he did not immediately make a move. Instead, he flipped his hand and took out a bronze mirror. The bronze mirror was the golden feather phantom mirror. Jian Wushuang was using his mind to control, buzz. A large amount of golden light instantly diffused and covered the entire battlefield in front of him in a jiffy. In addition, the surging golden divine power ocean swept frantically, and on Jian Wushuang's dark golden armor over his body, a domain formed. A sky-shattering sword intent was produced when his 100,000 miles of perfect sword world came into place. Golden light domain, prison of punishment, star armor domain, sword world. The 4 domain oppression methods had been put to use all at one go. Jian Wushuang stood right at the core of the golden divine power while the golden emperor behind him overlooked everything in the world. Then, Jian Wushuang slowly stretched out his palm and pumped his fist at the void ahead. 4 domain oppression methods superimposed. Oppression. Chapter 2762, Domain Oppression, Wipeout, Rumble. The terrifying oppressive power of the 4 domains combined instantly went into effect. Back in the secret realm, Jian Wushuang at the same level of cultivation realm had only used the prison of punishment, star armor domain, and sword world domain oppression methods. The triple oppression was able to suppress Saber Master's strength by 20 to 30%. He had since then gained a new technique, the golden light domain. The 4 domain oppression worked in a frenzied manner. It was working well, even on the many divine demon sect grand ultimate gods that were targeted. The oppressive effect was simply astonishing. This is, the divine demon sect grand ultimate gods were horrified. Oh, no. My strength has been suppressed by 50%. A primary level grand ultimate god exclaimed. The primary level grand ultimate god's strength ranked at the bottom among the experts on the battlefield. Under the circumstance when his strength was suppressed by 50%, any high-level Grand Ultimate God from Sword Alliance could take the advantage to fire a shot at him, and that would be enough to seriously injure him if not kill him directly. Him also being suppressed by as much as 30%. How can this domain be so powerful? The few Divine Demon sect high-level Grand Ultimate Gods were also extremely furious. The primary level Grand Ultimate God's strength was suppressed by 50%, whereas theirs by 30%. The strongest among all, the peak Grand Ultimate God, Dongshan, was also being suppressed by the domain oppression. He was shocked. Even my strength is being suppressed by 10%. Dongshan cried in disbelief. The stronger the opponent's strength, the weaker the suppression effect. Jian Wushuang's domain oppression extended to the entire battlefield on the Divine Demon sect experts, yet a peak Grand Ultimate God Dongshan was suppressed by nearly 10%. Does it mean that if Jian Wushuang put the oppression on me alone, my strength could possibly be suppressed by at least 20%? Just how strong is his domain oppression? The strength of Divine Demon sect experts had been suppressed by the domain oppression, but none of the Sword Alliance experts was affected in any way. Swoosh. The gold-armored corpse puppet fired another shot, and the battle saber in his hand slashed without mercy at the same level of power he imposed before. Dongshan's expression sank, the giant axes in his hand fell off his grips. The two collided with each other and caused an explosion of terrifying power. As a result, the gold-armored corpse puppet was sent flying, but Dongshan only retreated a few steps back. Damn it. Dongshan's gaze turned gloomy. He had an absolute advantage over the gold-armored corpse puppet, but after his strength was suppressed by the domain oppression, he only had 90% of strength left at work. He could sense the difference when he fought with the gold-armored corpse puppet again. Though he still overpowered the gold-armored corpse puppet, it was not as easy as before. If that was what Dongshan was feeling, the other Divine Demon sect Grand Ultimate Gods were in a worse situation. Attack. Kill them. Strange Old Tong, Grand Ultimate God Jushin, Strange Old Snake, Mr. and Ying, Lan Junju, and the corpse puppets were not affected in the slightest. They naturally would not miss the once-in-lifetime opportunity. They went all out trying to kill the Divine Demon Sect experts. The Divine Demon Sect Grand Ultimate Gods were in a mess. They flustered. In addition, after the domain oppression was in action, Jian Wushuang, who had been standing in the void outside the battlefield doing nothing, flipped his hand to summon his Blood Mountain sword. Let's start killing. Jian Wushuang wore a cold grin as he launched himself into the battlefield. He did not go to Dongshan. Dongshan was extremely powerful, so it was almost impossible for Jian Wushuang to kill him. Jian Wushuang's strategy was to just allow the gold-armored corpse puppet to keep Dongshan busy, so he had no chance to free himself up and assist the other Divine Demon Sect Grand Ultimate Gods. Jian Wushuang was aiming for the Divine Demon Sect Primary Level and High-Level Grand Ultimate Gods. His figure was zooming around like an agile phantom at his fastest speed. He appeared in the center of the battlefield and his gaze was immediately locked on a Divine Demon Sect Primary Level Grand Ultimate God right in front of him. Strange old snake, seize the opportunity. Jian Wushuang shouted. Strange old snake was startled and a little stunned. Jian Wushuang pointed with his finger and a gush of space-time law power erupted. The Divine Demon Sect Primary Level Grand Ultimate God who was fleeing froze in place. His body and expression froze as if space-time was at a complete standstill. The weird scene surprised Strange Old Snake and he immediately understood what Jian Wushuang was saying. He was the first Grand Ultimate God to be Jian Wushuang's follower and he once saw Jian Wushuang beheaded for Yi. He was familiar with the method to freeze space-time. Without any hesitation, Strange Old Snake took a step forward and fired a shot at lightning speed. The Divine Demon Sect Primary Level Grand Ultimate God who was trapped in the frozen spacetime was killed by Strange Old Snake before he could recover his senses. He was the first Grand Ultimate God who was slain. Jian Wushuang slashed his sword across the other side after helping Strange Old Snake to kill the first Grand Ultimate God. Mr. and Ying, Jian Wushuang shouted. There were two primary level Grand Ultimate Gods who were fighting against Mr. and Ying, but they did not survive Jian Wushuang's finger-pointing heavenly technique. Although Mr. and Ying did not know what exactly was the technique, he took action and killed both of the primary level Grand Ultimate Gods. In just an instant, without firing an attack at any of the opponents, Jian Wushuang had killed three primary level Grand Ultimate Gods easily by cooperating with Strange Old Snake and Mr. and Ying using the finger-pointing heavenly technique. That made the Divine Demon Sect experts who had been panicking because of the domain oppression even more petrified. Run. Run away quickly. It's weird. What exactly is that? Three primary level Grand Ultimate Gods were beheaded in just a jiffy. At this rate, I'm afraid that all of us will be beheaded soon. Quick! Run away from this domain. Sorrowful and terrified lamentation echoed in all directions. The Divine Demon Sect Primary Level Grand Ultimate Gods had completely lost their intent to fight and they began fleeing for their lives. Bastards! Dongshan was furious when he saw what was happening, but he did not stop any of them from leaving. He knew that Divine Demon Sect had lost the battle. It was a miserable defeat. Their losses would be greater if they insisted on carrying on fighting. The Sword Alliance experts and the corpse puppets were chasing after the Divine Demon Sect experts that were escaping. Jian Wushuang was among the crowd, his gaze once again landed on that one person. Chapter 2763. Vanquished. Jian Wushuang had his eyes on an old man with fiery red hair who looked like a ball of flame. The man was Fiery Cloud Demon Master. Fiery Cloud Demon Master was outstanding among the high-level Grand Ultimate Gods. Killing him was like killing three primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods. Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin. Jian Wushuang yelled. Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin was fighting against Fiery Cloud Demon Master and the silver-armored corpse puppet was nearby. Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin responded immediately to Jian Wushuang's cue. He turned around and saw Jian Wushuang had his finger out pointing at the distance. Buzz. The space-time power dispersed. He was again performing the finger-pointing heavenly technique. Damn it. It was to Fiery Cloud Demon Master dismay to find Jian Wushuang stretched out his hand and pointed toward him. Fiery Cloud Demon Master desperately wanted to dodge away. Unfortunately, A finger-pointing heavenly technique was an unusually overbearing technique. It had the space-time around Fiery Cloud Demon Master under control, and running away was not an option available to him. In an instant, Fiery Cloud Demon Master and the space-time around him became stagnated. However, Fiery Cloud Demon Master was extremely powerful. Jian Wushuang's finger-pointing heavenly technique had only managed to freeze him for a short moment. It was such a brief moment, yet Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin and the silver-armored corpse puppet caught hold of it. Whoosh! A dazzling saber light instantly cut in a violent sweeping stroke on Fiery Cloud Demon Master's head. The silver-armored corpse puppet had bright silver light flashing, its body transformed into an ancient ferocious beast and popped up behind Fiery Cloud Demon Master. Its palm wide opened, like a fierce beast's claws, went down on Fiery Cloud Demon Master. The space-time around Fiery Cloud Demon Master was back to normal, and he immediately noticed the two horrible attacking moves coming in both in front of and behind him. Shocked, Fiery Cloud Demon Master immediately ignited a conflagration, and at the same time both his arms stretched in opposite directions trying to resist the attacks targeting him. He had no time to perform fancy defensive moves, so he was relying on his palms in parrying off the attacks. Bang! Bang! Two loud booming sounds were heard, followed by Fiery Cloud Demon Master being shaken up. He felt a sweet taste in the mouth as he spouted out blood. His face turned pale and his breath of aura wilted instantly. He was obviously seriously injured. He was lucky, considering that he only suffered a serious injury instead of being beheaded. Having survived the destructive attacks, Fiery Cloud Demon Master desperately wanted to pull himself further away from Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin and the silver-armored corpse puppet. Suddenly, a phantom-like figure appeared next to him unexpectedly. "You are..." Fiery Cloud Demon Master spotted the figure from the corner of his eyes. The figure was wearing a golden robe and holding a long sword in his hand. Behind the figure was a 10,000 feet tall golden emperor. He was Jian Wushuang. *T. Fiery Cloud Demon Master went wide-eyed. Jian Wushuang brandished his sword. A beam of sword light emerged. The sword movement gave away a poignant and heartbreaking feeling. It was confounding yet mesmerizing to watch. Many experts who were fighting around the battlefield were attracted and fascinated by the sword light. They felt tipsy. It was slightly uncomfortable but dreamy and enjoyable. Space-time sword technique, 7th form, enchanted. As Jian Wushuang improved his grasp on the space-time law, his understanding of sword principles improved, and he had been seeking new breakthroughs in sword techniques. He had created the first 7 forms of space-time sword technique, and the 7th form was a huge breakthrough. Every single new form after the 7th form was extremely difficult. Jian Wushuang has created the enchanted form for decades, and he had yet to create the 8th form. Though it was the very same 7th form he performed decades ago, he managed to make it even more fascinating and unusually hard to be resisted. Its speed and power had also been greatly improved. Fiery Cloud Demon Master's eyes showed that he was baffled by such mesmerizing and beautiful sword light, and he seemed like he had fallen for the magical moment. However, his mind was fully aware of the situation, and he frantically wanted to do something to resist the fascinating sword attack. He wanted to resist the attack so bad. However, he just got lucky with Grand Ultimate God Ju Xin and the silver-armored corpse puppet, and he was running for his life. Jian Wushuang caught the perfect opportunity to fire the shot while sealing off the path Fiery Cloud Demon Master was retreating. Fiery Cloud Demon Master was horrified to find himself unable to keep up with the speed of Jian Wushuang's sword. He knew he was too slow compared with that sword movement. He had no time to resist the sword attack. Finally, chuck! The poignant sword light passed through Fiery Cloud Demon Master. He was covered with conflagration, but as the sword light passed by, the flame was put out instantly. His eyes dimmed as his breath of aura diminished. He was killed in just a jiffy. What a pity, Fiery Cloud Demon Master, if you did not choose to join Divine Demon Sect and wait for a little longer for me to send you an invitation, you would not die. You will also get a Huangji Golden Pill to attempt a breakthrough to the peak Grand Ultimate God Realm. Jian Wushuang sighed when he looked at the Fiery Cloud Demon Master's body. While Jian Wushuang slew Fiery Cloud Demon Master, The battles around him were also leaning in favor of one party. Most of the divine demon sect grand ultimate gods were defeated and they were fleeing for their lives. Their strength was suppressed by the domain oppression and the terrifying golden prison around them. They had to first escape the golden prison that was extremely difficult for them. In just a few moments, in addition to the 3 primary-level Grand Ultimate Gods and Fiery Cloud Demon Master who were killed with the help of Jian Wushuang, a high-level Grand Ultimate God and a primary-level Grand Ultimate God were killed. 6 out of 12 Grand Ultimate Gods, including Dong Shun, who turned up from Divine Demon Sect, were beheaded. That was half of the manpower. And the killing was obviously still going on. Without warning, boom. A terrifying roar sounded abruptly. Far ahead up front, a hole was made through the extremely strong golden prison under the impact of majestic power, and the hole was growing larger. Dense cracks appeared quickly all over the golden prison, spreading like a spider web. Finally, the golden prison collapsed due to the impact. After that, a burly figure appeared. Chapter 2764. Nanwu Palace Master. He was a bulky middle-aged man who wore a loose and luxurious robe with a dignified expression on his face. His hands were behind his back while he stood in the void and oversaw everything from the peak with cold eyes. Although all of those who stood in front of him were considered strong grand ultimate gods, they were no different from ordinary experts in the bulky middle-aged man's opinion. The most noticeable part about him was the divine power being released from him. The wave of divine power unleashed was really too strong. Although he was also a peak grand ultimate god, he was much stronger when compared to Dongshan. Their superiority was distinguishable simply by his wave of divine power without the necessity for both of them to fight it out, as the bulky middle-aged man was far stronger than Dongshan. This is Nanwu Palace Master. Experts who were fighting furiously from the Sword Alliance and Divine Demon Sect were surprised when they saw that bulky middle-aged man. It's Nanwu Palace Master, the current publicly recognized #1 expert in the Danyang Holy Domain, has actually here. The golden prison has been broken. Let's run. Quick. The remaining Divine Demon Sect's Grand Ultimate Gods grabbed the opportunity to immediately escape into their surroundings at the same time the others were stunned. Jian Wushuang and the others had also stopped their attacks while looking over to the bulky middle-aged man with a serious look in their eyes. As the saying goes, a big tree was a good shelter. The saying applies to a well-known person too. Nanwu Palace Master was after all the incumbent publicly acknowledged first-ranked expert in the Danyang Holy Domain. He was ranked first among the ultimate gods in Danyang Holy Domain. That fact could be noticeable from either the divine power he unleashed, which was one whole level higher than Dongshan, or his actions of breaking Jian Wushuang's golden prison with a simple attack. In short, he was an extremely strong person who nobody dared to ignore. Nanwu, Dongshan standing in the void, had also seen Nanwu Palace Master's arrival. However, the gold-armored corpse puppet was still blocking him. Dongshan, this is the first time I've seen the Divine Demon Sect be in such an embarrassing situation. A first-rate force badly defeated a pinnacle force such as yourself, said Nanwu Palace Master in a relaxed manner with his cold yet filled with a strong hint of dignity in his voice. Humph, it's easy for you to critique when you're at the sidelines. Do you think the Sword Alliance is merely a first-rate force? Dongshan asked with a solemn expression on his face. That's true. Nanwu Palace Master slightly nodded. His purpose for rushing over was because he received news that the Sword Alliance had wiped out the Heavenly Blood Alliance in a thunderous manner and almost caused all the experts from the Divine Demon Sect to come forth. His original purpose was to observe the Divine Demon Sect's true combat power, but did not expect to see such a great and almost unbelievable change in the battle. It was true that the Divine Demon Sect had sent every member they had with a total of 12 Grand Ultimate Gods, and even Dongshan personally took action. However, the results were them being heavily defeated by the Sword Alliance in direct combat. In addition, he had been staying in a nearby void and was able to see the ongoing fierce battle in the Golden Prison, as his soul power was sufficiently strong to ignore the Golden Prison's blockade. Therefore, he was able to observe everything happening on the battlefield. The Sword Alliance's grand ultimate god-level combat power had greatly surprised even himself. The combination of all 5 grand ultimate gods that consisted of strange old Tong, Ju Xin, Old Snake, and Ying, Lan Junzhu, and even Jian Wushuang coupled together with a gold-armored corpse puppet, a silver-armored corpse puppet, and 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets, such grand ultimate god-level combat power was really horrifying. Together with Jian Wushuang's suppressive domains that covered the entire area, only the Crimson Stone Fort and his Nanwu Palace among the 5 pinnacle forces in Danyang continent were capable of defending against such combat power. Sword Alliance. Nanwu Palace Master's facial expression slightly darkened when he looked over at Jian Wushuang with his sharp eyes. I've heard about how strong Alliance Master Su Han of the Sword Alliance was. You're undeniably a pinnacle genius that killed for Yi, a Primera-level Grand Ultimate God, head-on while you were still a Peak Heaven Ultimate God. Now that I've seen you today, you really are exceptional, said Nanwu Palace Master with a hint of certainty in his words. He saw the battle clearly with his own eyes. Although Jian Wushuang was only a Primera-level Grand Ultimate God and had not previously taken any action, his motions were capable of completely changing the situation. He started with activating his domains to suppress the entire battlefield and constricted every expert under the Divine Demon sect on the battlefield. His subsequent actions then killed 4 Grand Ultimate Gods in one go while working together with the Sword Alliance's experts such that even the Fiery Cloud Demon Master was killed by him. Although such power was not a threat to him, it was enough to catch his attention. Jian Wushuang smiled humbly and asked, Nanwu Palace Master, I've been looking forward to meeting you. What happened today is between the Sword Alliance and Divine Demon sect. It has nothing to do with the Nanwu Palace, and I know that the Sword Alliance had never caused trouble with Nanwu Palace. I wonder why Nanwu Palace Master is here today. Nanwu Palace Master was silent for a short while before speaking. Alliance Master Su Han, it's true there are no grudges between Nanwu Palace and Sword Alliance. The Nanwu Palace shouldn't have gotten involved in what's going on today. However, the Divine Demon sect is one of the 5 pinnacle forces in the Danyang continent and carries great influence. It'll affect the pinnacle force's position once losses are too great and will have a great impact on the situation in the Danyang continent. At that moment, the balance that we've tried so hard to maintain will be completely disrupted and might lead the Danyang continent into a chaotic state. Hence, I hope Alliance Master Su Han can stop whatever that's going on to give Nanwu Palace some face. What do you think? Nanwu Palace Master spoke in a gentle voice. Although he sounded casual, he gave off the suppressive aura of someone superior. Jian Wushuang and all the Sword Alliance's experts were able to feel extremely strong pressure coming from Nanwu Palace Master. Jian Wushuang knew that if he refused to stop and continued the battle, Nanwu Palace Master would personally take action. At that moment, battling Nanwu Palace Master was not something Jian Wushuang was completely confident about. I don't dare object now that Nanwu Palace Master has personally made this request. This battle shall end here. However, the Sword Alliance has taken over Heavenly Blood Alliance and nobody should ask us to relinquish it. I hope Nanwu Palace Master can understand this, said Jian Wushuang. That's for sure. The forces in the Danyang continent won't stop fighting against one another. Understandably, the Sword Alliance is powerful enough to take over 1 or 2 forces and control some territories. I believe Sect Master Dong Shen also thinks so too. Nanwu Palace Master glanced at Dong Shen. Dong Shen had an extremely darkened facial expression. He was not reconciled with the ongoings at that moment, but there was nothing he could do even if he was unhappy about it. He could see the situation in front of him, the Sword Alliance not weaker than the Divine Demon sect when comparing their total strength, it was stronger instead. Chapter 2765, Almighty Rise. The Divine Demon sect was definitely in a disadvantageous position when they encountered the Sword Alliance even during their prime. On the contrary, they would be directly struck down. After that huge battle, the Divine Demon sect alone had lost 6 Grand Ultimate Gods, and when combined with those 3 from the Heavenly Blood Alliance that the Sword Alliance killed, they had lost a total of 9 Grand Ultimate Gods. It could be said that they suffered a great loss. They would have to consider themselves fortunate if the Sword Alliance did not continue taking action against the Divine Demon sect under such circumstances. It was a joke for the Divine Demon sect to think of retaliating against the Sword Alliance to snatch back the territories that once belonged to the Heavenly Blood Alliance and avenge their fallen experts. He even understood that if Nanwu Palace Master did not take action in time, the Divine Demon sect would have lost even more experts. Alliance Master Su Han, "I'll make a move first since everything has been resolved," said Nanwu Palace Master before turning to leave. Dongshan and the Divine Demon sect's remaining Grand Ultimate Gods had dark expressions on their faces, especially Dongshan, who was glancing at Jian Wushuang and the others coldly. Although he did not speak, Jian Wushuang could spot the torrential grudge in his look. After a few moments upon Nanwu Palace Master and the others' departure, "Everybody, has anybody suffered losses?" Jian Wushuang looked at the Grand Ultimate Gods around him. Old Tong, Ju Xin, Old Snake, and Ying, and Lan Junju looked at each other with smiles on their faces. Alliance Master Su Han, "There aren't many people who I admire throughout my entire life, but you have my admiration today." The Divine Demon sect had been dominating the Danyang continent for so many years and never suffered any losses even during their head-on fights against either the Crimson Stone Fort or Nanwu Palace. However, the Divine Demon sect had suffered such tremendous losses in the hands of Alliance Master Su Han and lost 9 Grand Ultimate Gods. "I really admire your abilities," said Old Tong. Previously, he had a huge fallout with the Divine Demon sect, hence he was the happiest upon seeing the Divine Demon sect suffering great losses. Apart from holding such strong suppressing domains, you also had a gold-armored corpse puppet, a silver-armored corpse puppet, and 2 bronze-armored corpse puppets. No wonder the Alliance Master was so confident to go into a head-on fight against the Divine Demon sect. "It turns out you really can go against the Divine Demon sect." Ju Xin, and Ying, Lan Junju, and the others were happily chit-chatting among themselves. They were truly quite nervous and worried before their fight with the Divine Demon sect. It was the Divine Demon sect who had never been overthrown for years after all. However, they had never expected they would defeat the Divine Demon sect head-on with such overwhelming means. They never even dared to think about it before that moment. Jian Wushuang only smiled gently when he heard that. "Alliance Master, I don't think Dongshan will just let this go based on his facial expression when he left," said Old Snake with a deep voice. Jian Wushuang slightly smiled. "I know. Although the Divine Demon sect is one of the Danyang continent's pinnacle forces with quite a stable foundation with many Grand Ultimate Gods, we killed 9 of them. How can the Divine Demon sect put down such a great loss? However, the Sword Alliance isn't afraid of them regardless of the grudges the Divine Demon sect bears against us. In addition, the losses they suffer this time are so great that it's enough to affect their foundation and position. The Divine Demon sect will be struggling after this and might even fall into a position with no hope of making a comeback if they aren't careful. In the end, there are many forces and experts who lust after the Divine Demon sect's position or have grudges against them." Jian Wushuang knew clearly that the Divine Demon sect must have accumulated quite many grudges throughout the years as one of the pinnacle forces. For example, Old Tong previously had a great grudge against the Divine Demon sect. There were certainly many experts like Old Tong in the Danyang continent who had grudges against the Divine Demon sect. Despite the many experts' grudges, the Divine Demon sect did not suffer any losses to their strength as they had many experts on top of also having Dongshan personally overlooking matters, which was enough to shock everyone. However, the Divine Demon sect had lost 9 Grand Ultimate Gods all at once that day. It was not easy to recover from such a great loss. It was a great opportunity for those experts or forces that held grudges against the Divine Demon sect to overturn them. "It's a waste we did not completely stop Dongshan in this battle, or the Divine Demon sect would have been done for," thought Jian Wushuang to himself. Dongshan was the backbone and stabilizing force of the Divine Demon sect. Even though the Divine Demon sect lost a huge number of Grand Ultimate Gods, they were still qualified to be considered as a pinnacle force as long as Dongshan was still alive. However, the Divine Demon sect would be easily overturned if Dongshan died, as they would lack the highest combat power deterrence. However, Jian Wushuang also understood it was not so easy to kill a peak Grand Ultimate God, at least he knew that he was unable to do so at the moment. In the battle just moments ago, He only managed to control the gold-armored corpse puppet to do its best at pestering Dongshan under the suppressive assistance of the domains. It's normal for the divine demon sect to be unhappy, but the appearance of Nanwu Palace Master is beyond my expectation, said Jian Wushuang with a frown. He was prepared to face the divine demon sect but did not expect to face Nanwu Palace. Nanwu Palace Master's appearance was indeed unexpected. Luckily, the Nanwu Palace did not directly take action against the Sword Alliance and only asked us to stop to protect the Danyang continent's balance. It looks like Nanwu Palace doesn't want to cause a big stir and place high importance toward the balance of forces in the Danyang continent. Jian Wushuang slightly narrowed his eyes and smirked weirdly. However, Nanwu Palace Master isn't aware that even without the Sword Alliance continuing our actions, it'll be difficult for the Divine Demon sect to stabilize their current situation based on the losses they suffered. The situation between forces in the Danyang continent will still enter a chaotic period. It isn't only because the Divine Demon sect is unable to stabilize their current situation with the losses they suffered, but the most important matter is the strong uprising of the Sword Alliance. The Sword Alliance is having a strong uprising this time and will surely turn the Danyang continent upside down. The messier the Danyang continent becomes, the better it is for me. Old Tong, Zhu Xin, and the others who stood beside Jian Wushuang glanced at each other. They did not know Jian Wushuang's true aim but had their pride as they had promised to fight for the Sword Alliance for 1,000 years. They would do their best no matter which forces the Sword Alliance went against during that period. The Sword Alliance had a great victory in the battle that day as they had wiped out the Divine Demon sect in a face-to-face battle and killed 9 of their grand ultimate gods. Once that news spread, they believed it would shake the entire Danyang continent and cause a wave of perilous reaction. The Sword Alliance's prestige would reach new heights within a short time. Unsurprisingly, it would lead to the birth of a new pinnacle force. Chapter 2766, A Great Shock. Jian Wushuang and his people previously wiped out the Heavenly Blood Alliance with overwhelming strength and killed 3 grand ultimate gods including the Heavenly Blood Alliance Master. The Divine Demon sect was furious and attacked with their full might. Nanwu Palace Master was not the only one who received news about the occurrence. Several other pinnacle forces and many first-rate forces, second-rated forces, and independent experts had also learned about it. There were many witnesses during the head-on fight between Divine Demon sect and Sword Alliance which resulted in an immediate spread of the news. As Jian Wushuang and the others had anticipated, the news caused a stir in the entire Danyang continent once it spread. The forces and many experts in the Danyang continent were stunned. The Divine Demon sect sent their full force of 12 grand ultimate gods being personally led by the Divine Demon sect Master Dongshan to clash head-on with the Sword Alliance but was defeated. 6 of their grand ultimate gods were decapitated on the spot by the Sword Alliance. How's that possible? Is this a joke? After all, they are one of the pinnacle forces. This is inaccurate, it's inaccurate. I know about the Sword Alliance and they had just been founded decades ago. The Alliance Master is Su Han, who's only a Primera-level Grand Ultimate God. Although he's a genius and killed Fa Yi in a head-on battle while still a Heaven Ultimate God, it was rumored that his success had a certain level of embellishment in it. How could it be possible for the Sword Alliance to directly go against the Divine Demon sect and defeat them? It's impossible. I think it's impossible too. Different forces and experts felt it was impossible when they received the news with no one believing it. However, many saw the battle with some of them being extremely strong experts. There were even people who purposely recorded the battle with image tokens. Although these people did not know what happened to the Divine Demon sect's grand ultimate gods after they were trapped in the Golden Prison, the onlookers still recorded the subsequent events after Nanwu Palace Master destroyed the Golden Prison. Those image tokens soon spread widely across the Danyang continent. The experts could only accept the truth regardless of how unbelievable it was with the image tokens' existences. It's true. The Sword Alliance had truly defeated the Divine Demon sect. Oh my god, since when did strange old Tong, Zhu Xin, Old Snake, and Ying, and Lan Junju join the Sword Alliance? And since when did Zhu Xin, Old Snake, and An Ying make a breakthrough to the high-level Grand Ultimate God realm? Look at those figures in the recording. Those are corpse puppets. Those two bronze-armored corpse puppets have the combat power of ordinary high-level Grand Ultimate Gods, while the silver-armored corpse puppet has a peak high-level Grand Ultimate God strength. However, those images even showed Alliance Master Suhan taking out a gold-armored corpse puppet which had the combat power of a peak Grand Ultimate God. No wonder they are capable of defeating the Divine Demon sect in a face-to-face battle. The Sword Alliance's upper echelons have such high combat power? All questions were thrown out the window when they saw the occurrence from those mirror images. The Sword Alliance's battle array was horrifying and truly had the capability of directly defeating the Divine Demon sect. At that moment, all of them understood that the Divine Demon sect's defeat was justifiable and their remaining Grand Ultimate Gods might not be able to leave peacefully were it not for Nanwu Palace Master's interference at the end. Apart from that, two other matters arose after the news was verified. Firstly, the Divine Demon sect was badly affected by the battle. The Divine Demon sect had lost a total of 9 Grand Ultimate Gods in the battle when taking into consideration of those 3 Heavenly Blood Alliance's Grand Ultimate Gods that were killed. It had to be highlighted that the Divine Demon sect had a limited number of Grand Ultimate Gods. Losing 9 of them meant they were left with a small number which drastically decreased their upper echelon's combat power. Such events had brought excitement to many forces in the Danyang continent. Some of the experts who had grudges against the Divine Demon sect were also eager to take action. In the past, the Divine Demon sect was extremely strong and acted extremely domineeringly, hence those experts dared not offend them even though they had triggered many of those experts. However, the Divine Demon sect had suffered such a huge change at that moment and those experts would not forget to hit them with another blow. Secondly, the Sword Alliance had directly defeated the Divine Demon sect. The Sword Alliance's overpowering strength had shocked those forces and experts, hence a rumor had been started in the Danyang continent that the Sword Alliance would be replacing the Divine Demon sect and become a new pinnacle force. Apart from that, even if the Divine Demon sect was able to maintain itself due to Dongshan's support and their profound heritage, the Sword Alliance's rise was certain. It was because the Sword Alliance already had the strength of a pinnacle force. Although the Sword Alliance did not have a true peak Grand Ultimate God, they had a gold-armored corpse puppet supporting them as their highest-level combat power. Such a fact was further verified with their capabilities of directly defeating the Divine Demon sect during the Grand Ultimate God-level battle. As for those lower-level members being led by the Sword Alliance, every force had received news that the Sword Alliance also had an army known as the Divine Sword Army consisted of 500 Heaven Ultimate Gods that was formed at a great cost and having extremely high combat power. It could be said that Jian Wushuang had already possessed sufficient strength. It was estimated that the difference between the current Sword Alliance and a pinnacle force was having sufficient territories and profound heritages. However, obsolete strength was required to obtain territories and profound heritage, but that was not an issue as one could also plunder others for them. Therefore, the Sword Alliance undisputedly would become a new pinnacle force in the Danyang continent. In a dimly lit hall, there was no lighting or any ornaments but only a huge round table in the middle. At that moment, 3 obscure figures formed around the round table. Those 3 obscure figures were only consciousness incarnations and not the real bodies as they did not have any power but were only capable of conversing. "Why isn't Dongshan here?" An evil voice resounded from an evil-looking old man who was completely covered under a black robe. The evil-looking elder had green eyes and looked extremely ghastly. However, he had a great identity. There were 5 pinnacle forces in the Danyang continent and that evil-looking elder was the Life and Death Tower Master. The Divine Demon sect had met with such a huge change and suffered losing 9 Grand Ultimate Gods alongside a great blow to their prestige. Many forces and experts now have their eyes fixated on the Divine Demon sect, hence Dongshan is extremely busy doing his Divine Demon sect master responsibilities right now. How could he have the time to come over here? A gentle voice could be heard from the only woman among those 3 people. She was an old lady with grey hair and had spots all over her face, looking extremely worn out. The Dongfang clan masters had always been women. The grey-haired old lady was the clan master of Dongfang clan at that moment. Chapter 2767, Outer Realm. Apart from those two, a bulky middle-aged man with a strict face was also sitting by the round table. The bulky middle-aged man in a loose yet expensive-looking robe was the publicly recognized most powerful expert in the Danyang continent, Nanwu Palace Master. Nanwu Palace Master, Life and Death Tower Master, and the Dongfang Clan Master. 3 of the 5 pinnacle forces leaders in the Danyang continent had gathered there. Honorable leaders, I'm sure you know the reason I invited you here today? Nanwu Palace Master looked at the others around him. The evil-looking elder, the Life and Death Tower Master, laughed weirdly. Of course, we definitely need to revise our plans now that such a huge incident has occurred. The grey-haired old lady, also known as the Dongfang Clan Master, asked, I never imagined the Divine Demon sect was so weak. How could they be defeated in a head-on battle against the Sword Alliance, an alliance that had just been formed recently? Don't underestimate the Sword Alliance. Both of you would be foolish to think that it was a pure coincidence for the Sword Alliance to defeat the Divine Demon sect, said Nanwu Palace Master in a low voice. Nanwu, what do you mean by this? The Life and Death Tower Master looked at him. Nanwu, you also took action during the battle and knew most about the Sword Alliance. Tell us about them if you know, said Dongfang Clan Master. It's true that I saw the entire battle with my own eyes. The Sword Alliance isn't weak and is truly slightly stronger than the Divine Demon sect. I'm guessing that only Nanwu Palace is stronger than the Sword Alliance among our 4 pinnacle forces, while both of your forces are almost at a similar level to the Sword Alliance, said Nanwu Palace Master. Are they really that strong? The Life and Death Tower Master and Dongfang Clan Master's facial expressions darkened. They saw from the mirror images that the Sword Alliance had quite strong combat powers. However, it was quite unconvincing to say the Sword Alliance was well matched with both their forces. Nanwu Palace Master said with a serious tone, you only saw images of the battle but did not participate in it. The Sword Alliance had such an upper hand in the battle isn't only because the Sword Alliance has a group of grand ultimate gods with high combat power. Another major reason is the Sword Alliance Master Su Han. Don't underestimate Su Han. Although he only has the power of a primary-level grand ultimate god, he has extremely strong skills and exceptionally strong domains. Many of the Divine Demon sect's grand ultimate gods were greatly suppressed when it was activated, causing their combat power to be greatly reduced. Even a peak grand ultimate god such as Dongshan was greatly suppressed. These are the results of his domains when covering the entire battlefield. If he focused on only suppressing an individual, the domain's suppression would be even stronger. The Life and Death Tower Master and Dongfang Clan Master were stunned when they heard that. They realized that Nanwu Palace Master had a high evaluation of Su Han's domains. Su Han's skills in domain control must be extremely good for the Nanwu Palace Master to give him such high praise. Su Han's skills and the Sword Alliance's strength are only some of the factors. The real issue we should be afraid of is the Sword Alliance's background, said Nanwu Palace Master all of a sudden. Background? The Life and Death Tower Master and Dongfang Clan Master were stunned. The Sword Alliance had risen at such a fast pace within only a couple of decades, while Su Han is just a primary-level grand ultimate god who isn't really strong. How can he create such a strong Sword Alliance capable of competing against the pinnacle forces by himself in such a short time? Nanwu Palace Master seriously raised his doubts. You mean that Su Han has people secretly supporting him? Dongfang Clan Master slightly narrowed her eyes. That's right. According to the news I received, the Sword Alliance already started building its own army when it was founded. Apart from that, the reason their strength grew so profoundly is that the Sword Alliance has a large number of resources. They gave much better offers, 2 to 3 times more compared to those offered by ordinary first-rate forces, to the experts they gathered. The reason so many experts are willing to join the Sword Alliance is because of their exceptional offers and is the reason the Sword Alliance manages to grow rapidly within such a short period. However, where did all these resources come from? It can't be Su Han who obtained them by himself, right? Nanwu Palace Master asked. The Life and Death Tower Master and Dongfang Clan Master also nodded in agreement after hearing Nanwu Palace Master's conjunction. It was true that Su Han only had the strength of an ordinary peak heaven ultimate god when he first gained a reputation in the Danyang continent. The number of resources he owned when compared to his strength obviously meant somebody was secretly supporting him. However, who could be capable, or should we say, who would spend so much resources to raise the Sword Alliance to become a pinnacle force? Could it be the Crimson Stone Fort? The Life and Death Tower Master had a cold look in his eyes. However, Nanwu Palace Master directly shook his head. It can't be the Crimson Stone Fort. If it's the Crimson Stone Fort during its peak period when they had the Crimson Stone Saint supporting them, they might still be capable of supporting the rise of a pinnacle force. However, I'm sure you know of the current situation in the Crimson Stone Fort. They have such serious internal fights amongst their factions and suffer a huge consumption of assorted resources. Even Yun Shan, the person who's in charge of various resources in the Crimson Stone Fort and the most wealthy among them all, isn't capable of supporting the rise of a pinnacle force. It's difficult for them to even support a single first-rate force. Apart from that, all of us know the temperament of strange old Tong, Ju Xin, and Ying, and Lan Junju. The current Crimson Stone Fort isn't capable of coming up with better terms to move them. However, these people are obeying Sword Alliance's Su Han right now. The Dongfang Clan Master suddenly asked, if it isn't the Crimson Stone Fort, who else is capable of supporting the Sword Alliance? Could it be somebody from the Outer Realm? Outer Realm? The Life and Death Tower Master also narrowed his eyes. Nanwu Palace Master's facial expression turned cold. Nobody among the local forces in the Danyang Holy Domain is capable of raising a pinnacle force. There's a huge possibility that the Sword Alliance's supporter is a force from the Outer Realm. The Life and Death Tower Master and Dongfang Clan Master's facial expression darkened after they heard that. The Outer Realm. The Danyang Holy Domain was only one of the many realms within the 9 realms of Golden Crow. There were 8 other realms around them on top of the Danyang Holy Domain. Among those 8 realms, some of the realms were bigger and wider than the Danyang Holy Domain, which naturally meant they had more experts. Even the weakest realm was comparable to the Danyang Holy Domain, and there were without a doubt some extremely strong forces in those other 8 realms. The remaining 8 realms differ from the Danyang Holy Domain as they still have undying saints supporting them. The forces they controlled were extremely powerful. Chapter 2768, Silent Acquiescence. It was not difficult for forces from the other 8 realms who had undying saints supporting them to raise a pinnacle force in the Danyang Holy Domain. If a pinnacle force from the Outer Realm is secretly supporting the Sword Alliance is true, the Sword Alliance is of great threat to us. The Life and Death Tower Master had a cold look in his eyes. Yes, the Danyang Holy Domain has been at an absolute disadvantage since Crimson Stone Saint's passing. The current infiltration of Outer Realm's pinnacle forces must be aimed at taking over the entire Danyang Holy Domain. We should take action right now and wipe out the Sword Alliance while it still hasn't stabilized its position to be safe, said the Dongfang Clan Master. Nanwu Palace Master frowned. It's true that we should immediately take action under normal circumstances. However, matters are different right now. I've received news that the Crimson Stone Fort recently has been rather eventful and all the factions are preparing to take action. It seems Saber Master, who once controlled one of the factions, has fallen. The Life and Death Tower Master said, I've also heard about this, but it's just a rumor with no way for us to confirm if Saber Master had truly fallen. However, the situation in Crimson Stone Fort has indeed been rather eventful recently. It looks like Crimson Stone Fort's factions will completely fall out with a really huge battle about to happen. Their huge battle is the opportunity we've been longing for a long time. Nanwu Palace Master had a cold expression on his face. That's why it's unsuitable for us to take action right now. It can be said that the Sword Alliance has risen at the perfect timing as it happens to be when there'll be some huge shifts happening in the Crimson Stone Fort. We cannot focus on the Sword Alliance if we aim to complete our long-term goals of completely overthrowing the Crimson Stone Fort. Both the Life and Death Tower Master and Dongfang Clan Master's brows slightly furrowed. It was true that the Sword Alliance had appeared at the perfect timing. The Sword Alliance appeared when the opportunity they craved for since long ago finally arrived. Under such circumstances, they had to focus themselves on the Crimson Stone Fort and use all the time they had to prepare themselves so that they could obtain their heart's desires when the huge changes occurred in the Crimson Stone Fort. However, if the three of them unite and go against the Sword Alliance at that moment, putting aside the fact that the Sword Alliance was supported by Outer Realm forces which already made it difficult to take action against them, they would also need to expose many of their last resorts which greatly reduced their strength if they really planned to overthrow the Sword Alliance. In addition, Crimson Stone Fort would have more opportunities to prepare themselves. As such, it would mean that they would not have the absolute upper hand when going against the Crimson Stone Fort thereafter. There's nothing we can do as we can only either overthrow the Crimson Stone Fort or the Sword Alliance. I suggest we take action against the Crimson Stone Fort first. The Life and Death Tower Master slightly narrowed his eyes as he spoke in a low voice. In the end, the Sword Alliance is still a young force and their total strength won't be as domineeringly strong. Even if they are secretly supported by Outer Realm forces, it won't be so easy for those outside forces to infiltrate us as this is still the Danyang Holy Domain. The most they can do is supply some resources. The Sword Alliance has grown to its current capacity, which makes it almost impossible for them to further drastically increase their strength. All we need to do is send someone to keep an eye on the Sword Alliance's movements and stay alert. I too agree. It won't be too late to take action against the Sword Alliance after everything. The most important matter right now is to go against the Crimson Stone Fort. The three of us have been waiting and laying low for so many years just for such a great opportunity to overthrow the Crimson Stone Fort. Now that the opportunity is here, we cannot get distracted by a mere Sword Alliance, added Dongfang Clan Master with a serious tone. Nanwu, what do you think? Both the Life and Death Tower Master and Dongfang Clan Master looked over at Nanwu Palace Master. Nanwu Palace Master smiled softly. I'll support it since both of you have made your decision. According to the news Nanwu Palace received, the current Crimson Stone Fort is a tightened bowstring that any slight movement will trigger into a full-blown battle. It won't be long before that happens and the entire Crimson Stone Fort will be in complete chaos at that time. I'm sure it'll only take several decades or perhaps even less than 40 years for a great battle to completely erupt in the Crimson Stone Fort. We shall put up with the Sword Alliance during this period and unite to wipe them out after we've gotten rid of the Crimson Stone Fort. All right. Both the Life and Death Tower Master and Dongfang Clan Master also seriously nodded. The three of them came to a mutual understanding after the brief discussion and slowly left the place. The Sword Alliance's rise was inevitable. It was proven that the Sword Alliance had become a pinnacle force following Nanwu Palace, Life and Death Tower, and Dongfang Clan's silence. The Sword Alliance then started sweeping through the lands and easily gained control over the many territories that once belonged to the Heavenly Blood Alliance. Several forces that were located in between were also ruthlessly wiped out by the Sword Alliance at the same time to unite the Sword Alliance's original territory and those that belonged to the Heavenly Blood Alliance. The Sword Alliance's territory grew enormously after those forces' territories had fallen into the Sword Alliance's hands and soon already surpassed the strength of a first-rate force and were infinitely close to becoming a pinnacle force. In the Sword Alliance headquarters, the Sword Alliance had already taken over the Heavenly Blood Alliance and several second-rated forces' territories. However, Nanwu Palace, Life and Death Tower, and Dongfang Clan didn't react at all. It seems like those three families have acknowledged the rise of the Sword Alliance and won't take action against us before they wipe out Crimson Stone Fort. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly. He was able to guess those three pinnacle forces' plans. In the end, he had been keeping tabs with Yin Sua and Palace Keeper Sai Zhen, allowing him to understand Crimson Stone Fort's current situation well. Those three forces were focusing their energy on the Crimson Stone Fort and could not spare any time for him. It was exactly what the Sword Alliance wanted. Announce my orders. We no longer need to be scrupulous toward anybody starting today. Presumptuously wipe out the surrounding forces and take over as many forces as possible. As for those pinnacle forces, don't be afraid if their experts come forward. You're allowed to directly fight them off if possible, as I allow small fights, but remember not to corner them, ordered Jian Wushuang. Yes, Master. The Sword Alliance experts obediently received his order. Xiao Taishan asked, Master, although the Sword Alliance can be counted as a pinnacle force right now, we haven't stabilized ourselves. Won't it be too over the top if we act so presumptuously? Those pinnacle forces won't allow us to expand so scrupulously, right? Jian Wushuang said, I'm sure they don't want to see that happen, but they definitely won't stop us. From the moment they decided to not take action against the Sword Alliance means they have silently acknowledged the Sword Alliance can take over a huge piece of territory and become a pinnacle force. What I'm doing right now is pressuring these pinnacle forces. Chapter 2769, Got the Divine Elixir Pills Pressure? Xiao Taishan was puzzled. I want Nanwu Palace, Life and Death Tower and Dongfang Clan, and the already worn Divine Demon sect to know that my Sword Alliance is rising at an amazing speed and I have great ambitions to annex and expand. I want all of the top forces to feel that kind of pressure that I will take over them at just any time, Jian Wushuang explained. But why? Xiao Taishan was still puzzled. Haha, it's very useful. You just can't see it yet. Anyway, you just do this according to my instructions. Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Yes. Xiao Taishan stopped asking any more questions and quickly left. Jian Wushuang sat there alone with a gleam in his eyes. Yin Sua, I have put enough pressure on those top forces. It's up to you now. Although I will go all out to help you, you gotta show me what you've got a thing or two. You can't blame me if you're lousy yourself, Jian Wushuang mumbled. Jian Wushuang had done enough. He had severely ravaged Divine Demon Sect, grew Sword Alliance and scared the other three top forces stiff. The top forces were chary of acting rashly. Under those circumstances, Yin Sua should have had enough time for preparation. Next, Sword Alliance expanded and grew its influence rapidly according to Jian Wushuang's plans and order. It was like a hungry beast subjugating the forces around them. Even the top forces were not spared. They were affected by Sword Alliance to a certain extent and they have had contentions. Fortunately, the altercation did not lead to nasty fights. In the long run, Sword Alliance had asserted a certain amount of pressure on those top forces. Life and Death Tower, Dongfang Clan, the badly hit Divine Demon Sect and even Nanwu Palace felt tremendous pressure from Sword Alliance. That area of growth did not require Jian Wushuang to put in any more effort. While his followers were at work carrying out his plans, he had been working diligently on improving his strength and perception of the laws and sword principles. He made colossal progress with the 2 Fengtian scrolls in his hand. 3 years went past in a blink of an eye. In the past 3 years, Sword Alliance had had frequent activities. On the other hand, the other top forces in Danyang continent, including Crimson Stonefort, seemed to be extremely calm. Everyone knew that something was brewing under the seemingly calm surface. One day, Jian Yi, the divine elixir pills you wanted has arrived. Palace Keeper Sai Zhen sent a message. So soon. Jian Wushuang was over the moon when he got the news. 3 years ago, he handed the Holy Treasure level battle saber sword to Yin Sua and he asked for 50,000 divine elixir pills in return. He thought that Yin Sua would need a longer time to deal with a Holy Treasure level battle saber, but it took only 3 years for Yin Sua to sell it off. Jian Wushuang immediately set off for Holy Palace. When he arrived at Sacred Palace, Jian Wushuang only spotted Palace Keeper Sai Zhen. There was no sight of Yin Sua. Then again, it was normal. Tensions were brewing within the Crimson Stonefort factions during the period of time and all the factions were doing their best to be prepared. Yin Sua would have had a lot to deal with. Haha, Alliance Master Su Han, it's been a long time. Palace Keeper Sai Zhen let out a hearty laugh when he saw Jian Wushuang. Palace Keeper Sai Zhen, don't tease me, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. I dare not tease you. You are now the Sword Alliance Master, whereby the Sword Alliance is the top force in Danyang continents. Even Divine Demon Sect has been defeated. I believe that even Fort Master can't afford to be smug and complacent around your achievement, Palace Keeper Sai Zhen said so as to butter up Jian Wushuang. Then, Palace Keeper Sai Zhen got serious and took out an interspatial ring. Jian Yi, this is given to you by the Fort Master. Your holy treasure level battle sword was sold to an undying saint for 65,000 divine elixir pills. According to what you've asked before, Fort Master has given you 50,000 divine elixir pills and the price for your damaged pinnacle heavenly treasure battle armor. We've rounded it up to 53,000 divine elixir pills for you here. Jian Wushuang took the interspatial ring and he made a careful count of the content with his soul power before nodding. Please help me to thank Fort Master for these. Fort Master is grateful for you. Palace Keeper Sijin smiled. Earlier, Fort Master had earned a small fortune and benefits from the 230 Catties royal blood gem you gave her. This time around, you have given her a greater amount of benefits with an extra of 15,000 divine elixir pills. They came in handy to provide sufficient resources. Major changes are about to take place in Crimson Stone Fort and the Fort Master might not be so sure of her preparation without the blessing. From what I've heard, you are saying that your Fort Master is now very sure of how to deal with the situation. Jian Wushuang smiled. I can't say that we're very sure, but there is still a chance around 30 to 40%. This is just from the Fort Master's management. If Jian Yi and our Sword Alliance are willing to help each other at that time, then there is at least a certainty of preservation. 70% of it, said Palace Keeper Sai Zhen. 30 to 40% is not a small amount of assurance. As for Sword Alliance, I will do my best to help out, Jian Wushuang said. That's good to hear. Palace Keeper Sai Zhen was delighted. By the way, what's going on in Crimson Stone Fort? Jian Wushuang asked casually. Fortunately, although news came out that Saber Master has died, this piece of news has not been confirmed. Therefore, although there were some activities going on in the various factions of Crimson Stone Fort, they had yet to take any serious action. The factions are quietly accumulating and preparing their strength and power. Once the fuse is lighted, Crimson Stone Fort will be completely chaotic and wars will break out. No matter who wins the battle, Crimson Stone Fort would completely solve the never-ending disputes, said Palace Keeper Sai Zhen. Then, I will go off first. If something happens in Crimson Stone Fort, just send me a message, Jian Wushuang said. Okay. Palace Keeper Sai Zhen nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang left immediately. After returning to Sword Alliance, he immediately found a secret chamber and began to cultivate in seclusion. 53,000 divine holy pills added up with the few divine holy pills obtained and accumulated by Saber Master before, it should be enough to make my strength even greater. Jian Wushuang clasped his hands tight expectantly. Let's start. Immediately, Jian Wushuang closed his eyes and began to refine those divine elixir pills. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.